everyone, this is Brian Larkin. We're back for lesson 2 of the metal series. I want to talk a little bit more about power chords before we do anything else. There were a few things I did not get to mention in the first video, and we'll start with one now, and that is inverted power chords. So a little refresher review of what I was talking about in the first video about what a power chord is constructed of. The bottom note of the chord typically is the root of the chord, and then the next note up would be the fifth. So for example, if we were playing a D power chord in 5th position with the root on the A string, we would play the 5th fret of the A string, the 7th fret of the D string, so that would be root and 5th. Now those notes, because we are going to talk more and more about the actual names of notes as the series goes on, D being the root and A being the 5th, when we add the third note that we talked about, which would be the octave, that would be on the 7th fret of the G string. That would just be another D. So if we were to play this, D, A, and D, that would be a root position power chord. To invert the power chord, since there are only 2 tones, D and A, in this chord, inverting it is simply a matter of putting the other tone at the bottom. So for example, instead of D and A, I actually have another A lower on the guitar, on the 5th fret of the low E string. The 6th string, 5th fret is also A. So I'm going to play that now. It's going to sound like this. So adding the lower note tends to give you a little bit of a grittier and heavier sound, especially if you have a bassist in the band who's playing the root as the bottom of the chord. It's going to give the illusion of having a lower range in the same way that, for example, a 7-string does. So if you don't have a 7-string guitar which has a low B on it, and you want to play a B power chord, but you don't want this like mid-range sound of that, you can just add the F sharp at the bottom on the 2nd fret of the low E, and if your bassist is playing a low B, you'll get a nice heavy sound. Much like your other movable power chord shapes, these are transferable to adjacent string groups to an extent, and the only other one I'm going to show you for right now with the inverted power chords would be on the group starting with the A string. So the 5, 4, and 3 string group. We would use the 5th fret of the A string, and now the 5th fret of the D string, and the 7th fret of the G string, to form a G5 power chord. Okay, so that's inverted power chords, and let's move on to the next topic.